Mm. Okay, I'm waiting on the YouTube to come on, and it looks like let's get this other thing start recording. Record. Welcome to Bridges Live. This is Dr. Paul. We actually have our show off of Bridges Live called Voices to Be Heard. I am Dr. Paul Dyer, and you are, say your name. I like to do the whole show thing, like a talk show.
And I'm Tamara Randolph.
Yeah, I'm waiting on the YouTube to come on. I love that. It looks like. So we are here. We decided, if most people don't know, you can call in, and I have it set up. I have this whole great number, and I'm not going to remember it, and I'm sorry if I don't remember. It's 1-888. It's 1-888-240-8466. So, and you can actually call and leave a message, even if it's not on the show, and I'll get it. So, yeah, we're full blown. It's all out there. We want, yeah, but this we're serious. And we want to hear from you. And the reason why it started, because a lot of people like to say, well, why did you do this? Well, I met this wonderful woman, Tamara Randolph.
Oh.
And she has She Kept. Now let's talk about She Kept.
Yes. Yeah, sure. So started Kept in loving memory of my mother. We've been working and serving in the community for about 4 years now, solid, consistent years. And my mother, unfortunately, fell victim to domestic violence. And I wanted to create Kept as a safe haven for women to not only get the help and support they need, but to find and resonate and find some comfort in sharing their stories. And it's not only for women, and we kind of talked about it before, but men as well just need an opportunity or need the push to share and get their experiences out. So Kept, it stands for keeping every possibility tangible. And we want to create that place, that safe haven, to get those resources that they need to get out of those toxic situations. So blessed to meet you, Dr. Dyer, and blessed to share in this here.
Yes, and you disappeared on me real quick, but yeah, that's okay. And one of the things is that it's the platform, and I like to use my platform for positive and uplifting things, and that's really what, if my mother says this, and I don't know if I ever said this. Did you know my mother was also with domestic violence? Well,
yes.
I did share.
Yeah, we talked about it last time.
Yep. Okay, so my mother, she was such an amazing educator that she would say, if you're going to grow if you're going to be the tree that grows strong,
mm-hmm.
then you must drop fruit. And the fruit is for people to eat. But in the fruit, we also know there's what? A seed.
Wow.
And in that seed, it'll grow another tree.
Wow.
And so my mother was a big, huge advocate, but also my mother was a civil rights activist. So this was all this part of my maturation of growing up and who she was and how she taught us, and taking people into our homes, and how she just gave of herself was something that was a part of my life. And it wasn't so much that we had a lot, we just had a heart to give.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Voices to Be Heard is. And so if because people don't know how to tell their story.
Yeah.
Like Katie came on that one time on the show, and how she told us about her story.
Right.
Why do you think it's an embarrassment? How do we get over the people having the embarrassment of speaking up? Not so much speaking out. We're talking about just speaking up.
Yeah, I think it's hard, and everyone matures and gets to a level of comfort with themselves and just being real and honest. So I think it's easier to put on a facade that everything is perfect. And it's a little more complicated to be honest and to be vulnerable. So to open up and say that I am dealing with whatever it is, not necessarily domestic violence, but whatever it is a level of vulnerability that everyone isn't comfortable with. And I think we all have that to a certain extent. There's certain things about ourselves that we're not necessarily going to share with the world. But in this case, it's something that will not, I think sharing your story is therapy, and it's a way that you are able to lift some of that burden that you're carrying, and it is not necessarily yours to carry. You may be in a situation, not your fault. You've gone through it, but now that you are becoming more aware, it's okay to speak out. It's okay to look for help. It's okay to share your story, because I found, personally for me, sharing my story and the way that domestic violence has impacted myself and my family has been a blessing to others. And if that was the reason I had to go through what I did, that I'm honored that I was able to go through it and hopefully encourage and save someone else. So again, I think it's difficult and it can be a little nerve-wracking, but again, that vulnerability can literally save someone else's life.
One of the things about being and opening up is that that is that to me. I think that is the thing, is saving someone else's life.
Yeah.
It's being able to say, I shared and someone heard, and
Mhm.
now someone now is being saved.
Yeah, and it's that one, I think it's easy for us to look and think that we have to affect and change thousands at a time. And that calling isn't for everyone. Like Beyonce is immaculate at what she does. I may or may not go to every concert that she puts on,
Mm-hmm.
but there are the smaller, like Emily Kings of the world, and this is a music reference.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm saying, like, I adore Emily King just as much as Beyonce, and in that reference, I'm just saying, like, for little old me, I am saying that I'm not Oprah, but I'm honored that she's created the platform and the something that I could look to, but I know my reach isn't, that's not where I'm supposed to be. I feel like my place is here, and to help and impact and affect and bless the one or two or few. And I am totally okay with that.
You're my Oprah. I
Oh,
mean, you're not going to get rid of a new car. I get it, but you have
I
the
would if I had it,
you
and you
right.
could have, and you. I'm a giver,
me,
so I
me
would.
too. But the Oprah, if we look at Oprah and says it's the heart that you have, you're my Oprah.
Oh,
And
well, I
and
appreciate that.
and there we have some. We've talked about this before, and this is this is when it comes to voices to be heard. Redundancy is not an issue. It's about someone didn't hear this before.
Right.
So when we talk about violence to a person,
Mm-hmm.
we are also not just talking about the physical, right?
Right. Not just the physical, it's emotional, it's psychological. There are different types of emotional or different types of abuse. And the physical is what, is kind of prevalent. We can easily see an abused face or an abused body, like that. But again, we mentioned it before, but October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
And it doesn't get all of the glitz and glamour that cancer or breast cancer does. I think it's also mental health or mentors. And so it's a different types of awareness, but specifically for domestic violence, we want to highlight and not just let this be the 1 month that we talk about it, but it should be an ongoing story, an ongoing conversation. And that's what I want kept to be. I want it to be that conversation that may be uncomfortable for a lot, but it's for that one subset that is necessary. And I'm totally okay with that. And so again, we have physical, we have Sexual abuse, obviously, that's there, emotional, psychological. So there's different types of abuse. And oftentimes with physical abuse, it doesn't start with the physical.
Right.
It starts psychologically, emotionally, where someone's just trying to control your thoughts and who you are and what you can and can't do. And then after a certain point, physically it comes in and it's a shock. And I've heard stories where it's not until they've been physically abused where it's like kind of the light goes off, like, oh no, something is wrong with this situation, when in fact they could have been abused much longer than that one instance.
Stalking is an abuse.
Correct. Yep.
Literally just heard that someone didn't think stalking was that abusive.
No, it's definitely abuse. And again, that's that psychological thing, because I want you, regardless of what you say, I want you. And you don't have to tell me that you want me, but I know you want. No, I don't want you, and that's stalking is a form of abuse, not to make light of it, but it's true. And that's the way that guys, kind of, or, people, whoever the stalkers are, kind of approach it. Like, I am coming after you, regardless how many times you say no or how many times you don't answer me. I feel like I'm imagining in their mind, they're like, oh, okay, I know you saying no, but that's not really what you mean.
That's not what you mean, right? I know what you mean. Right. Yeah, and we talk, and and here's the thing: things are said in loving ways that the abuser uses for their spider trap.
Right.
Like, I do this because I love you.
Right.
You make me do this. I wouldn't be acting this way if you never, what dot dot dot, because you could just add any of those words on that, and it doesn't matter what those words come after that. So I think this is where abuse comes difficult. It's unlike the physical, and I because I'm always talking to people, because that's what I do, and to communicate. But how can a person know that the person is not healthy for them if they're using those words?
I feel like the love, it shouldn't hurt, like I shouldn't feel.
But what if it doesn't hurt? That's the key. Like, what if I say, you know what, Tamara, I'm doing this because I love you, and I'm not hurting you physically. I keep saying it emotionally, but I'm always tracking what you do.
Yeah, I think if loving you or you loving me makes me feel uncomfortable or uneasy, unsafe, if I'm questioning, if I have to think about every single thing, every decision I'm making throughout the day, because I want to make sure that you aren't going to be upset or feel some type of way, that's not healthy.
But now, okay, so now this is where, and believe me, people, and I want to say this again, and you guys can see this up on the, I put the number across the thing. You can give us a call at 1-888-240-8466. Women, Black women, strong women say, I'm not scared of what you're doing, but what they're doing is not healthy for them. So how do you get them out of that? That whole buck up. I can handle it.
I can handle it.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, as a Black woman, we deal with a lot of stuff. We handle a lot of stuff. And I think as a man, it's probably impossible for you to really comprehend the amount of stuff that we deal and work through. And so I think naturally our trait is to be superwoman, and to deal with whatever the mess is, and to not find fault in that. Like, and I can kind of speak personally, like I would rather be the fixer. I would rather fix it. Like, if there's an issue, I would rather fix it than to necessarily there to
No.
be some type of confrontation or anything like that. You know what? Let me just fix it, and whatever that means, regardless of how that'll make me feel. But that's not always okay. And I think as a Black woman, we just have to be okay with saying no, because that's a full sentence paragraph. Okay, dissertation, no.
Just
And
no. Just no.
yeah, it's just 2 letters. You could put an exclamation mark afterward. You know, you can bold that, underline it if you want, but no is oftentimes hard, but we just have to be okay and get comfortable with saying that, because for our mental health,
Right.
no is necessary. And that's something I'm working on too. So,
So,
but
here's the thing, people, and as you listen to Voices to Be Heard, I'll give you if you haven't heard any of the other things I've done and the shows I've done, I'm very transparent. So a lot of times I'm talking from something I felt, feel, or have done or go through. And I've working on it, have worked on it, continues to work on it. The journey is a journey step by step. But like I said in the beginning, if I'm going to be a tree that grows strong, I'm going to drop fruit. If you look at it a different way, just because I walk down this path, I'm going to leave breadcrumbs for the other people to follow.
yeah.
So if you with someone who you dearly love and have a hard time being with, and you being yourself, that's a signal. Now,
Problematic. Yeah.
I do believe in getting help. I do believe in saying, you know what? Hey, Mrs. Minnie Mouse, I love you, Minnie Mouse, but you sucked the life out of me, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think we should go get help. And Minnie Mouse says, man, the hell with that noise. And you say, well, I'm getting help and I want you to come. I would like for you to come. It's really good if we come because I think we can be this together. That's a great thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to your therapist, your therapist will say, nah, nigga, you need to leave here.
Okay.
Like, she ain't no good for you. All right. I wasn't sure, but there it is.
Now I know. Yeah, I mean, therapy is definitely important. I think it is, especially if you're in a relationship and it's something you want to, it's not necessarily violence related, but
Right,
it's just some things that therapy helps us communicate better or understand each other better, because sometimes it's hard for you to understand your spouse, the way they communicate, and something's not clicking, and that could be vice versa. But
right.
oftentimes the therapist can help shed some light, and although it could be the same exact words, but if it's coming from someone else, then it's kind of received a little differently. And yep. But therapy is necessary and important. And if you and your spouse, if you've decided that you want that for your relationship and your spouse is saying no, like you mentioned, that's a red flag. Like, why wouldn't you want to
get help,
do whatever's necessary to make our relationship work? And that is a problem. If they don't want to do that, then you need to reconsider how important the relationship is to them, because there's obviously sacrifices you're willing to make, and if they are not, then we are going down 2 separate paths. That would be the way I would approach it.
So recently I had a conversation with a couple, a young couple, and he had said that he's going through some things. I asked him about their relationship, and I get there quick. And he had said he's going through some things. He wants to work some things out. And she had said that she still wants to be with him while he works things out. And he was kind of like, I just want to take this break and I want to work on myself. And she said, well, I want to be there for you. What do you think about that type of conversation in a relationship? It was this way, it was her saying to him, what do you think there's some hint of is it okay to allow? What do you think about that? I'm going to leave it at that.
I think if someone does not want to be there, you should not beg them to be or stay. And then for that instance, it's obvious, regardless if the reason is something he wants to work on, he doesn't want to figure that out with her.
Right.
And I would take that hint, like, I'm all right, then I'll pray for you. I pray all is well, but I'm not going to beg you to stay here. Never going to do that.
No, I mean, because you look at it this way, and sometimes when people flip verbiage from men to women and women to men, it sounds different. Because if a man said, if a woman said, I want to work through this by myself, and he said, I want to be there with you, I want to make sure it sounds so aggressive coming from that way, doesn't it?
I don't think so. I think it sounds pretty much the same. I think I understand what you mean. Like, hearing a guy say that would kind of, I feel like the room would do something like, oh, but hearing the woman say it is like, girl, don't be there sounding desperate. He said he didn't want you. So, so I understand that. But for me, I think it's the same thing. I would take the same approach for the guy. Like, don't beg her to stay. If she wants to go ahead and let her go, And I mean, and that's reality right there. But I know there's some that would just choose to stay regardless. And I don't know that that's necessary.
We got a call.
Okay, great.
Press 1 to send the caller in.
Hello, welcome to Voices to Be Heard. This is great. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Tamara, can you hear?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay, great. You're on Voices to Be Heard. I'm glad you called. What's your name?
Linda.
Linda. Hi, Linda. How you doing? I'm Dr. Paul, and well, it doesn't matter, but let's hear what you have to say, please.
Actually, I said Brenda.
Brenda. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm a male. I have a hard time hearing.
I heard you, Brenda.
So I have a question. I have a friend who's in an abusive situation, and he has put his hands on her, and she doesn't want to leave. How do you help someone, or not even help them? I realize that people have to get to a place on their own. You can't tell somebody to leave someone, but in this situation, this is unsafe and this is unhealthy. What do I do in this type of a situation?
So Brenda, I've heard that kind of conversation and that situation a few times, and I think as a friend, not only do you want to offer the support, but you want to figure out what exactly does she want? Like, why? I guess if we can figure out why does she want to stay there, and then if there's an opportunity for you to help her find that additional resource she needs. So because oftentimes women are staying for different reasons. So financially, maybe she feels like she can't survive or move on without him because he's the breadwinner, or if it's children involved. Like, what specific help can you help her find, if that kind of makes sense? So if it's financially, then maybe you helping her figure out a new job or a job that would sustain her for a while. Is there some other family she could stay with that would help provide that bridge between her relationship now and where she's moving, or where she would move to get out and be single? And then additionally, actual therapy to help her talk through and get through that situation properly. And as a friend, it's easy for us to just listen, but are we actually providing the help mentally that she needs? Is kind of where we're kind of it's kind of a catch-22, because we want to be there and we want to listen, but if listening actually helping, sometimes it's not. So we want to figure out, and it's hard, but we want to figure out what kind of support can I actually offer. So outside of listening, do I need to, if she wants me to call the police, if that's even an option. But if it's a financial burden that she feels that's the reason why she's staying, then what can I do, and what can you do to provide that resource for her?
So
Dr.
Brenda, I have a quick question, and you can answer what Tamara was talking about, but have you offered some of those suggestions?
Actually, I have, and she actually is the breadwinner. He doesn't work, and he doesn't work not because he doesn't want to, but he has a lot of other issues that have, caused him not to be able to work, or not to work at this point in time. He has a lot of anger issues and child whatever trauma from childhood. But when I asked her that question, what do you want?
Right.
What do you want to do? And she just says, I'm not ready to give up on him, and if I leave him, he'll have no one. And I kind of feel like, well, how is that your problem?
Correct. Yeah, that's it.
Basically given up on him. His family has turned their backs on him because over the years, whenever family has, he was a troubled young man. His family have trusted him, tried to reach out to him. He just turned around and pretty much gave him his ass to kiss, and they were tired and they gave up on him. So he doesn't really have family, and so I would think that the only person that's in your corner and you're putting your hands on them and mistreating them, it just doesn't make sense to me. But I also think that she has self-esteem and self-value issues, self-worth issues, because if she didn't, she would be like, I'm worth more than this. I deserve better than this. And if I have to be by myself for the rest of my life, so what? And she has a young daughter. And so my thing is, what example is this setting for your daughter?
Right. Yeah, and I would definitely mention that, because I was going to ask you, does she have children? But like you mentioned, Brenda, like that's not her responsibility. Like his well-being, and I understand that she loves him and cares for him, but she can't allow that to destroy her, specifically and most importantly because she's also a mother, so she should want to be that example. But I think, like you mentioned, Brenda, she has some self-esteem issues that she needs to work through, and that's why suggesting therapy would be great. And maybe if you felt so inclined, helping her find somewhere that maybe he could go, because it's hard to say just drop him and leave, because she's obviously not going to do that, but maybe helping find resources for both of them.
And you're right, Tamara. I think we just said this before Brenda called, is that mental health, we need help. We need to be able to be okay getting help. Do you know, Brenda, if he is willing to accept help?
I'm sure she would be willing to accept help, but I think it's to a certain extent, because she really doesn't want to leave him behind. Because I offered, you could come and live with me, you're a baby, and she's like, I don't want to leave him behind. And so there have been options that have been given to her. I just really believe that she somehow thinks that she can't do better, or maybe that she's not even deserving of better, for whatever her reasons are.
Well, I just want to say thank you for calling Voices to be Heard, and it's really a blessing. And please always call back if you give us an update on the situation. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us, Brenda?
I think this is a really great, informative show, and I'm really glad that you guys are talking about it. There are so many women out here that are dealing with abusive relationships, whether it's and I at the top of the show, you guys talked about abuse, and people don't even realize it's abuse because I never considered stalking as an abuse. I never really thought about it that way that you guys clarified it. But I also think that people should know that abuse doesn't always come from an intimate relationship. Abuse can be from a family member, mental abuse or verbal abuse, parent to child, or child to parent, or sibling to sibling. And so I think that moving forward, that's a subject that can be touched on as well, because I know a lot of people who, take so much crap off of their siblings and their family members, and within our community, within the Black community, we have to start all of these things that we swept under the rug for years, and whether it was molestation or don't let the girls be around that uncle, because they do that.
Yeah.
Nobody did anything to get that uncle removed from the situation. It was so the thing was, keep the girls away from him, or keep the children away from him. How about instead of keeping the children away from him,
say something?
how about get him some help?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And putting them in jail is not the answer. That person needs help too. And so for so long in the Black community, we sweep our things under the rug. It's like we don't talk about that. And so besides the trauma of what happens to us in white America, and just in this world every day of just being Black, what we're doing to ourselves with not talking about these things. And so I just commend you guys for, talking about this and putting this show out. And I really want to, say everyone that's listening that's under the sound of my voice, if you've got a question, call in. You don't have to give your name, I'm assuming.
No, you don't. No.
Don't sit there and hurt. Get some help. Get some help.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for taking my call.
Thank you, Brenda.
I'm listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, wow. She could take my seat. So be heard, right? Voices to be heard. This weighs heavy on us. To hear, because we want to help. We want to help him. We want to help her. We want to help them. We want to, all of it. It's not just particulars. It's all of it, because I'm thinking about him in my head. And I'm thinking about young Black male trauma, right? And then wanting to be better, but not knowing how. Now, if you picture, so if you look at some of the statistics, right? You take the amount of Black men who are in prison, or was in prison, or have been in jail. They come out, they have this thing over them. They need help to be able to learn how to establish something, not a relationship, but a relationship with themselves.
Right, to appreciate themselves. And I don't think we even have to go all the way to that extreme, being incarcerated. I just think as a male in general, as a Black man, I know that it's, kind of been frowned upon for you to be emotional, to show any emotion, to communicate, and, to just be honest in your genuine self. And that it's hard to kind of overcome all of these years. This is the only, this is the way I was groomed, the way I was taught to be. And now as I become an adult, I realize it's okay that I am emotional because I just witnessed death, or my mom, has died. It's actually okay for me to cry. It's okay for me to say, I love you. I love, my best friend that's a guy, not to feel any type of way if I'm not, if I'm not gay. It's been like, oh, you can't show emotion to another male. No, you actually genuinely have that feeling. You actually love your brother, and that is okay. And even if you are gay, it's okay for you to love another male and not, or the same for females, so I just think it's hard, specifically while we're talking about males, for them to just communicate. And I've heard some stories of males that have had trauma and abuse and have witnessed abuse from family. And, you know, it's just something, it was a moment in time and they just pack it away. And then it comes out a little later in life and they're not sure, you know, how this just unpacked on themselves. It's because it's a weight and a burden and a cross that you've been bearing for so long. And it's not, and you know, you haven't had or taken the opportunity to express yourself and talk about it. And so I'm prayerful that this show is that it prompts and, you know, evokes a conversation that may not have happened before, and that's necessary.
Because I'm not sure, and because I've shared this before, so forgive me if I shared this before, but I've been sexually assaulted when I was young, and it was a uncle, and I've talked about it. So there's things that, and it affected my relationship with women throughout my life when I did not talk about it. That's what and that's where conversations are so important, because if you don't unpack it, like you said, and I've used the word when I'm teaching meditation, you know, you got to kick up that mud to clear it out, but you have to unpack it, because the sediment settles down throughout the years and it becomes hardened. And all of a sudden you're feeling like that's just the floor I should be walking on emotionally. Where underneath that flooring is so much trauma and neglect that you did not heal it. Because the floor, in metaphorically using it in thinking, your floor is supposed to be loving and soft and caring, not hard and rigid and rugged.
Right.
Not. We're not supposed to live that way. And that's why we you know, and Tamara, I tell you, I'm blessed to we to do this with voices to be heard here, and
as well.
yeah, it's just great. Anything you want to give anyone else before we take off? And I had to Tamara had to remind us, we're not doing this every week. So, we're doing this every other week. So every other week. Yeah.
Yes. So like I'll be ready, but no, I just again I'm grateful and thankful for this time. I pray that we are providing some encouragement for someone that needs it. You know, I think that the conversation is necessary, and there are plenty of people out here that will love and support you regardless. So if there's anything that I can do to assist, and I don't want to speak for you, Dr. Paul, but I'm sure it's the same way, that if there's anything.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you. I love you, and I want to help. So just to go back to Brenda, thank you so much for coming, for calling in and sharing that story, because it's something that I know someone else listening or watching can resonate with, and they're trying to figure out, how can I shake my friend out of this? You know, like I want to be there, and it's hard, and every person reacts and you know, their situation is different, but I would just encourage you not to give up on her and to still be there and, you know, have that conversation that she definitely needs. And at some point, I'm prayerful that that moment is going to click, where if you're talking about her daughter, Brenda, if you're mentioning how important she is even to you or to her family, and how much prayer can change things, and we're going to keep the boyfriend in prayer, but that's not your cross, that's not your burden to bear. So, and that goes for anyone else that's listening. Just know that you know, you are worth it, you are worthy of happiness. We all are. And if not any other time, now is the time for you to make that step to happiness.
So we're going to end off with prayer. And so please, those of you who have joined us and watch us or share it and like us with us, please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for allowing voices to be heard. Thank you for allowing Brenda to come on and to share. And thank you for the voices that are hearing and the hearts that are hearing. Let them know that they're not alone. Let them know that they cannot do this alone, that we are here, we as a community of people, as hearts and love and kindness and compassion, to lift you up and to protect you and to save you. All of our brothers and sisters out there in all regions of the world and all over the globe, I pray in Jesus' name, you will be saved. Amen.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you so much. And I will talk to you later because I talk to you more than I talk to most. But then you have a great week. And get out and vote. I am not
Yes.
you want me to say it again?
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
We need you. I need you. We all need you.
Right.
Everyone must vote. It's a necessity. Okay.
And I'm not even gonna tell you to vote for, but you gotta go out and vote. You gotta
do it.
You gotta do your judges. You gotta do your representatives. You gotta do your school board education. I don't care if it's the puppy dog walker. If it's on the ballot, you gotta vote. You gotta vote. You gotta vote. Please.
You gotta vote.
I'm so sick of. I tell you what, and I'm looking at you. The person's like, I ain't voting. I will rip you out of your chair. Because I'm gonna find you because the numbers are gonna be so high. It's gonna be like, okay, who didn't vote?
Right.
The numbers are going to be so high. 80% of America vote. We're going to find those 20%. We're going to find you. And
like you said, it's not just about the president. It's about all the people that are directly affecting us. So those judges and our councilman, our city council, all of those people directly affect us, our day to day. And it's important that we get out and vote and make our voices heard for not only ourselves, but our children, our family, our communities. We need you. I need you. Definitely vote. You have to.
Got to.